Hi, this is my review of 01 Games Crimson Sea Virtual Box Set. This is the perfect set of maps to have some high adventures across the seas, exploring islands, going underwater. This is quite useful for many different role-playing games and war games. It doesn't matter the setting, it doesn't matter the time context. This works in medieval fantasy, this works in Victorian era, this works in modern gameplay. Now, let's talk about the different maps and the quality of such maps. When you purchase the Crimson Sea Virtual Box Set, you get 10 booklets of maps, and you also have 4 files that you can use in virtual tabletop gameplay. So for example, you use Roll20, you're going to have a map of the Crimson Port, the sea, the underground port, different sections of it. And we'll talk more about those in a few minutes. Let's talk about the color map folio. This is perfect to serve as a sort of handout or representation of an actual campaign map in the game world. As your players explore any sort of aquatic setting that you are using in any system that you can think of, you can present these maps to your players or these sections of a big map. You also have a bit of background story about the Crimson Sea, an area of many mysteries and dangers, but you also have a bit of background information concerning the Black Leviathan, a ship so powerful in battle that it actually has an additional gun deck where usually there is the cargo hold, so it has double the firepower. In this color map folio, you have an organization of the 2 maps featured because you have an entire map of the sea already divided in 6 quadrants. So this is perfect if you play some sort of naval battle type of game. The map is already divided, so you can set up some objectives and more details about a particular encounter. And if you click on any of these quadrants, it takes you to that section of the map, or you can also choose to print that map. In the same way, you also have the Black Leviathan divided by sections. So it's going to be quite easy for you to get into specifics of a particular section of the Black Leviathan. And just take a look at this map. I love the background color, sort of like an oyster color, and all of the lines and the icons and the islands, they look so beautiful. And the background images, those ships and that sea serpent and a kraken, it all looks very thematic. It gives a strong flavor to the entire map set. And now let's explore the Rule the Dungeon button. This is quite iconic of 01 Games virtual box sets and all of its maps. You have an option to deactivate the text if you want to. You can also deactivate the scales, the symbols, the logo as well, the secondary direction lines, the main direction lines, and the entire background. Even if you deactivate all of that, the map still looks quite beautiful. Maybe you will wish to deactivate all of it so you can make your own maps and draw your own details and markings. And there are so many adventure seats spread out through the entire map. You have the mysterious island. You have a route of a ghost ship, so you better be careful as you are navigating the sea. You better not bump into the ghost ship unless you want to. Maybe there is some sort of treasure in that ghost ship, or maybe it's just a facade and it's actually a band of pirates pretending to be ghosts, sort of like Scooby-Doo. And then we have the maelstrom. You better be careful when you get close to that, but at the same time maybe it's also a sort of gateway, perhaps to another dimension. So you have many different places like the ship's graveyard, Skullcap Island. You also have the sunken city. So many places to explore in this single map, which is considerably large, and you can easily insert it into any campaign setting that you have. Or if your campaign setting or particular game world lacks a charismatic sea such as the Crimson Sea, this is the perfect sea for that. It's filled with danger, with opportunities, perhaps even to start an entire campaign and to Test the subsystems of your favorite role-playing game when it comes to naval combat and sea exploration. And the Leviathan is perfectly detailed. You have clear layout when it comes to the secondary gun deck, the main gun deck, all of the different sections and subsections of the ship. This ship could serve as the base of operations and vehicle at the same time when you're exploring the Crimson Sea. Or maybe this ship belongs to your worst enemy. So this could be a very hostile place, sort of like a dungeon in the sea that you can go into and explore. So whether you start with this vehicle as your own, or if you decide to take it as your own from your enemies, this is going to be a great vehicle to navigate and explore the Crimson Sea and many other places. Who knows where the campaign is going to take you? As you would expect from 01 Games blueprints, you have a legend explaining all of the symbols commonly used in different maps. And let's take a closer look at the Master Control panel and the Rule the Dungeon button in the other blueprints. Check out the map on the right side. When I activate or deactivate the trim lines, you can see how they are taken out of that particular map. And you can also remove boats and trees. If you want to, you can remove the text as well. So again, a lot of potential for customizing maps, drawing your own symbols, playing around with different structures and the layout. You also have a way to play around with the north mark on all the maps, change the direction of north. You can also decide if you want to print the north mark on all of the maps, and if you want to print all of the blue pages or only the black and white pages. And the Crimson Port, just look at it. Already divided by quadrants, this is the perfect place to serve as a hub for your adventures, to go into the port, gather some information, get some crew members, or perhaps fight some enemies. It is also a very useful place for any sort of war game that has a few ship-to-ship combat rules, because as you can see, most of it is on land, but you could, for example, move from dock to dock or pier to pier. It will be quite interesting to see the battle developments in such an encounter. There are places within the Crimson Port that can be used for some adventures or some interactions outside of combat as well, because we have the Church of the Seven Sea Gods and the Northwest Docks. Maybe there are some shady cargo operations going on around here. You also have the Northern Shipyard, the North Docks, the Abandoned Lighthouse, maybe it's haunted, the Inn of Skulls and Cannons. I like the layout overall quite a bit, because there's a lot of variety of the different places that you can explore. You have structures, you also have bridges and trees, some natural areas to set up some ambushes, or maybe somebody has hidden something. Maybe there is a treasure map hidden someplace near those bushes, or maybe just around that corner under the tree. There are so many adventure seats in this entire place, and with names such as Devil's Rock, Crab's Rock, and Karnak's Keep, I'm sure you can figure out some ways to get the characters hooked into your next perilous journey. And if that wasn't enough, you also have the Crimson Port building's interior. You have the entire layout of all of those buildings, and even if you want to come up with your own buildings on the different maps, place some structures where you feel that there is a bit too much empty area, you could play around with the different elements and use the different structures and layouts as inspiration. And with the option to remove the doors, furniture, the text, and change the grid from square grid to hex grid, it's going to be quite easy for you to come up with the perfect battle plan. And field of combat, to test your characters, to push them to the limit when they start to fight against buccaneers, or maybe they are pirates and they have to fight against the authorities because they are getting in the way of the next big heist. With boats and crates and barrels all around, there are many hiding places. Perhaps you have gotten cornered and you need to keep some map, some clue, or some jewelry, perhaps it's magical jewelry, safe from prying eyes. You can put it there, stash it, and come back later for it. Hopefully it will still be there when you return, when you escape from prison. You also have the layout of the temple, more maps of the surrounding areas and buildings that can be used right away in any encounter, but as I was telling you, you can play around with the different elements. You can perhaps take a couple of rooms and improvise when the player characters want to explore a building just outside of town and that wasn't planned. And at the end of each booklet, you also have notes, that is ways in which you can organize number, name, and short description of the different areas and buildings and sections. Some of them are already pre-filled, so most of the work has been done for you. You just need to adjust things according to your campaign or that particular adventure that you are running. And then we have Mermaid Island. This place is begging to be explored. Everything is completely mapped with many places to hide entrances, secret caves, and perhaps find some interesting player characters living in this island. Maybe you want to handle this island as a very populated and peaceful area, but maybe it's completely deserted and there are some strange beings in there, maybe some deep ones, or maybe some sort of mutants. So we have places such as Mermaid's Temple, the Way of Hope, Triton Bay, the Docks, the Old Lighthouse, the Sacred Grove. You can have a map of the underground section of Mermaid's Island. This is a complete adventure site to hide all sorts of grotesqueries or perhaps even wonders, many treasures, and what lurks inside Mermaid's Temple. I think this is a really good place to surprise the player characters. Maybe they will go into this island without suspecting that this island harbors some terrible secret. You also have a map of the Old Lighthouse, another perfect candidate for the haunted lighthouse type of scenario. And if Mermaid's Island wasn't enough, we now have the Mysterious Island. This is another place to explore, perhaps to conquer. What lurks in the village of the Beastmen? What can be found in the salty swamps and the haunted jungle? And on this island lies Dr. Matteo Mansion. I'm sure you can imagine that this has something to do with some were-beasts of sorts. And look at this hidden dock. Maybe there is some villain in this island and you can surprise that particular fiend by going through the route of the hidden dock. You also have a map of the mansion itself. It seems like an interesting place to pillage and plunder if you want to get some potions and chemicals and artifacts. There is even an underground level. What sorts of experiments are being carried out here? There's more information on the hidden dock. This place could hide some advantages when it comes to infiltrating the island. If this is sort of like a secret mission type of operation, the hidden dock even allows some structures to use as camp or a mini base. And the village of the Beastmen, just look at it, look at that waterfall. Maybe there is some strange, monstrous god being worshipped here, and the Beastmen are not too happy that you have entered their temple. And then we have the plans of the pirate Galleon. Another perfect element to use as a vehicle that you will fight against, or as your own vehicle, as you explore the sea. You may find some of these galleons. Maybe you will interact with their crew. It doesn't have to necessarily end in conflict. But of course, there will be time for war, for some naval battles. And only the most skilled captain and the most able crew will be able to survive this confrontation. You have maps of all of the sections, all the places you can explore. What treasures will you find inside this galleon? And now we have the Pirate Lord's Keep. Maybe you want to negotiate with this Pirate Lord. Maybe you are the Pirate Lords. Nonetheless, you have all the details on the layout of Karnak's Keep, Devil's Rock, Crab's Rock. This is within the port, as you may have noticed. So all of the ships and all the different places of business that this Pirate Lord uses are displayed quite clearly. It's quite easy to see the layout and to figure out how you can enter a certain area. Maybe you are not in friendly terms with the Pirate Lord. Maybe he actually has something of value to you in his possession. Or maybe he kidnapped one of the family members or the loved ones of the player characters. So it's up to you to get inside the Pirate Lord's Keep or any of its surrounding structures and recover what is yours. Or maybe you have been hired to stop this Pirate Lord. Maybe you need to kill him. Or maybe this Pirate Lord is actually something else in disguise. Maybe it's actually an extraplanar being who is trying to conquer the entire world. Red Blood Island has an ancient feel to it. This place seems to have been an important site because it has an ancient fort. There are also some ports. It is obvious that this island was once a key position in some sort of perhaps military campaign or just to control the passage of goods across the sea. Nonetheless, it is worth it to explore this area as it contains maps of the ancient fort, the ground level, and the upper level as well. Maybe there are some valuable things here. Or maybe you will find out something, maybe it's connected to some of the plot lines or the side quests in the adventure. And here you will find that missing link in some nefarious plan or in some quest to obtain some magical items that will give you an edge against your enemies or will even secure the mayorship of a town for you. You also have a map of the lost temple in the island. What sacrifices were carried out here? What did they summon? And is that strange eldritch threat still present in this area? You have a map of the ground level as well, the lost temple, the first and top levels. Were they opening some sort of gate? Were they summoning some horror from beyond time and space? Only you can find out the truth behind this profane ritual. Skullcap Island, as you can see, has a very iconic appearance. Maybe you can build some interesting legends around this island. Maybe there is a legend that said one of the titans died during a battle in ancient times, and now his skull turned into an island. In it you have Half-Head Swamp, Caverns of the Golden Warrior, the Altar of the Frog God, the Rocky Fields, the Black Pool. Many places to explore, many secrets to uncover. You even have a smuggler's port. So despite the potential dangers, this place is frequently used perhaps to smuggle some things, to make some plans. You even have an entire map of the smuggler's port with all of the warehouses, the bars, the places to gather and seek information, gather some allies, and crush your enemies. This is another perfect place to use as your base of operations. If you want to become a pirate king, this is the perfect place to gather your trusted followers and those that you do not trust but you simply want to keep close, so that you can figure out what they are planning against you. And then we have an entire map of the sea. This is similar to the color map folio, but because of the different modifications that you can do here, and because it is arranged in blue and black and white colors, I think this map is perfect to make some modifications in contrast with the other. The other is more like to show it to your players and to immerse them into the setting, to bring some color literally into the campaign. But with this black and white and blue sections of the map, it's easier for you to make more sense of the entire plan and layout of the campaign, of the different hazards, the enemies, and the places to explore. All of the routes are easy to tell apart and to mark. You can also add your own adventure sites as well. There is a lot of free space for you to play around with the Crimson Sea. And with enough incentive, placing the right hooks, you can draw your players to different adventure sites and see if they are able to overcome the challenges that you set upon them. So what do I think of the Crimson Sea virtual box set? This box set is perfect and perhaps even a must-have in many role-playing games that feature some interesting sea exploration and naval combat type of situations. There are some more specific role-playing games, such as the 7th Sea, 50 Fathoms, and there are some other role-playing games that have perfect systems and subsystems to explore the sea and navigate your ship, such as, for example, Pathfinder, especially if you're using the Cerulean Seas campaign setting, and many old-school Renaissance type of role-playing games, such as Lamentations of the Flame Princess, have their own systems to navigate the sea. You could also play this more on the pulp side of things. Maybe use Savage Worlds, maybe you want to have some Victorian era explorations, maybe you play Rippers, or maybe you play Victoriana 3rd edition. This virtual box set has you covered with different islands, different ports, different temples, ships that you can use to navigate the sea, to have ship versus ship type of combat, all of that and more. The Crimson Sea offers so many adventure seats, and the color folio looks great as well. If you want to impress your players, showing them the map of the campaign, this is going to be great for that. And because you have the typical Rule the Dungeon button of 01 Games blueprints, you can tweak and play around with the layout and the composition of all of the maps, and you could even come up with your own original creations just by adding and removing and playing around with all of those elements. So I think this is going to last you several campaigns. You can combine the islands, take pieces, cut and paste and come up with your own original ideas. So this Crimson Sea virtual box set is not only to be used as it is, it's also a source of inspiration to come up with your own islands, with your own dangerous seas and oceans. And for example, if you're using the recently released Starjammer for the Pathfinder role-playing game, you can have those moments where the sea suddenly meets with outer space and you can navigate your ship from the sea to outer space. Maybe it's a very ancient ship that can navigate almost any sort of environment. So this Crimson Sea box set is very much recommended by me because of the inspiration that it will provide for many adventures and campaigns. Remember to check out the link in the description below so you can know where to get it. Thanks for watching my review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. See you later.